All right, ready to dive into something new. Today, we're getting into the nitty-gritty of tile fitting.
Yeah, tile fitting.
All right,
And
Dan.
before you jump to conclusions, it's
It's not just about bathrooms. We're going way beyond that.
way beyond. We've got some interesting stuff to unpack here.
We really do.
Two sources, actually.
Okay, lay it on me.
First, you've got your tile fitter career guide, right?
Yeah, right here.
And then, for something a little different, we're tapping into some info about this platform, RoleCatcher.
RoleCatcher. Interesting. Okay, so we've got hands-on tile work,
Hands-on.
and then what? AI and the job market.
You got it. And the cool thing is, both of these, they matter for someone like you.
That's what I like to hear.
Someone who's all about, constantly learning, exploring different angles.
Hit the nail on the head. All right, so let's start with the tile itself. The guide jumps right in, and honestly, I was surprised by how much detail's involved.
Right. You'd think it's just, like, placing tiles, but no.
It's an art.
It's all about the foundation. Measuring, cutting, even the surface you're working on, it all matters.
Makes sense. Oh, and you know what caught my eye? The guide mentions mosaics.
Mosaics, yeah.
Got me thinking, you could be an artist with tile. Intricate patterns, turning a plain floor into something amazing.
Totally. And that gets to the creative side of this. The guide even points out mosaics, that's a skill you can really develop.
See, this is what I'm talking about. These deep dives, you find these hidden gems, these unexpected paths you wouldn't think of.
For sure. And this is where it gets real. The guide, it paints this picture, right, of where all this happens.
Okay.
Dusty, noisy, could be hazardous even.
Yeah, not exactly a spa day.
Not quite. But here's the thing. The guide also mentions the satisfaction. You see the results of what you do.
Right. You put in the effort, and bam, you've got a tiled floor, a backsplash, a mosaic.
Exactly. And on that note, technology's playing a role too. The guide talks about these computer-controlled cutting machines.
Okay, so not your grandpa's tile cutter anymore.
No, we're talking precision, intricate shapes, things that would have been way harder before. It's like having a robotic assistant for your tile art.
Blending the old with the new, that's cool. But, okay, let's be real. No job's perfect, right? The guide gets into that, the pros and cons.
It does, and it's pretty honest about it, which I appreciate.
So hit me with the good stuff first.
All right, so good news. The guide says, tile fitters, high demand.
Okay, that's promising. Why is that?
Think about it. Construction, renovations. People are always going to need tile work done.
That's a good point, no matter how technologically advanced we get.
Exactly. It's a timeless skill.
And let's not forget there's that creative avenue, too, with mosaics and such. What else is good about it?
The guide specifically mentions the possibility of being your own boss.
Oh, self-employment. That's a big one for a lot of people.
It is. Setting your own hours, having that independence, it's appealing. But, like we said, two sides to every coin, right?
Right, got to flip that tile over. What about the not-so-glamorous side?
Well, first off, it's physical work. We're talking kneeling, bending, lifting.
Yeah, I can see that taking a toll if you're not careful.
And then there's the schedule. Construction projects, they don't always run on a neat 9 to 5.
True, true. Especially if you're freelancing, probably some late nights in there.
Could be. And let's not forget, it can be messy. Dust, grout, you're gonna get dirty.
All right, so maybe not the best fit for someone who needs everything to be spotless.
Probably not. But hey, on the bright side, never a dull moment.
True, and let's be real, sometimes a little bit of mess is just part of getting things done.
I hear you. Now, zooming out a bit, the guide, it lays out this whole career progression for tile fitters.
Okay, like a roadmap.
Exactly. It breaks it down into 4 stages. Entry-level, junior, mid-level, senior.
I like that it lays it all out, makes it seem achievable, climbing those ranks.
Right. And what I thought was cool, they give you these, example profiles for each stage.
Oh, so you can see what it actually looks like, not just the job description.
Exactly. And this is where I think it connects to you, the guide, stresses this point about continuous learning.
Music to my ears. I'm all about that. What does that look like in tile setting?
Well, it's not just learning the basics and you're good. New tech, new materials, everything's changing.
Right. Got to stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. They talk about joining trade groups, going to events, even more education certifications.
So it's like a whole community constantly pushing the boundaries. I dig it.
And that's actually where something like RoleCatcher comes in.
Oh, right. We haven't forgotten about that, the digital side of things. Okay, so how does this RoleCatcher thing tie into all of this?
Think of it as like your secret weapon, whether you're just starting out with tile or you've been doing it a while and you want to, level up.
A secret weapon. Okay, I'm intrigued.
One of the big things it does is this CV and resume builder thing.
Ah, so even if you're amazing at tile, but writing isn't your strong suit, they got you covered.
Exactly. It helps you show off your skills, your experience in a way that grabs attention.
Okay, that's huge in a competitive job market.
Right. And the interview prep stuff, super helpful too. Imagine going into an interview, you're prepared, you're confident, ready for anything they throw at you.
I wish I had that for my early interviews. I was a nervous wreck.
It uses AI, right, to analyze what employers are looking for and then helps you tailor your answers, your whole approach.
Hold on, it's like it can read the interviewer's mind almost.
Kind of. But it's all about giving you that edge in today's world.
Makes sense.
Hmm.
So it's not just about being good at the hands-on stuff anymore. You got to be savvy with the tech, too.
Absolutely. It's like those computer-controlled cutting machines we talked about earlier. It's embracing those tools to take things to the next level.
Love that. Combining the old and the new. Okay, so we've talked about the career path, but I want to get into the actual work itself.
Let's do it. Get into the nitty-gritty of those techniques.
Yeah, what are those challenges you face on a day-to-day basis as a tile fitter?
Well, the guide's not afraid to keep it real. One of the biggest things, besides the physical demands, is you got to be adaptable.
Adaptable, how so?
Think about it. You're working in all sorts of spaces, bathrooms, kitchens. Each one's different.
Right, different layouts, different obstacles.
Exactly. You got to think on your feet, find solutions, make sure those tiles fit perfectly no matter what.
So it's problem solving as much as it is hands-on skill.
Exactly. It's like this 3D puzzle you're constantly figuring out. And then, of course, there's the material itself.
Tile.
Tile. Not exactly the most forgiving stuff to work with.
Right. You can't just, like, bend it to your will.
Nope. Ceramic, porcelain, natural stone. Each one has its own quirks, you know.
So you gotta be a bit of a tile whisperer.
That's a good way to put it. And then on top of that, all the new stuff coming out all the time. Remember we talked about eco-friendly options?
Yeah, with this sustainability focus and all.
Right. Got to keep up with all of that.
Lifelong learning. I'm telling you.
For sure. Which, again, is where those trade groups, those continuing ed things, they come in handy.
Okay, so we've got physical demands, problem solving, always learning. But what about the job outlook itself? Is this a field with legs?
The guide seems optimistic. They say the need for skilled tile setters. It's not going away. In fact, it might even grow.
Okay, so not a dying art then. That's good to hear.
Not at all. Construction's growing. People always want to upgrade their spaces. Tile's a popular choice.
Durable, versatile can really transform a space.
Right. And they specifically say those with specialized skills, even more opportunities.
So finding your niche, becoming the go-to person for, like, intricate mosaic work or something like that.
Exactly. That's where it's at.
Got it. Okay, so lots of potential there. But what about, like, the leadership route? Can you go from tile setter to, I don't know, managing a team, running your own business even?
Absolutely. The guide even has a whole section on that, going out on your own, becoming a tile entrepreneur.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. They say experienced tile setters, they've got the skills, the knowledge, they could totally start their own thing.
So it's not just about the tile itself, it's about those business skills too.
Right. Managing projects, finances, all that comes into play.
It's like you're building something from the ground up, literally and metaphorically.
Exactly. And that's where, some people, they have that entrepreneurial spirit.
They've got that drive, they want to be their own boss.
Exactly. And speaking of finding the right path, that's where RoleCatcher comes back in.
All right, let's talk more about this RoleCatcher thing. We touched on the CV part,
Yeah.
but what else can it do?
So remember that feeling before a job interview, you're nervous, you don't know what to expect.
Oh, tell me about it. My palms would be sweating, my mind would go blank.
Well, RoleCatcher, it's like it takes the guesswork out of it. They've got this database, tons of interview questions, all organized by industry, job title, you name it.
So you can practice, get comfortable talking about your experience instead of
Mhm.
just getting blindsided.
Right. You walk in feeling prepared, like you've got this.
Okay, that would have been a lifesaver back in the day.
It can even analyze your old CV, suggest improvements, make sure you're using the right words.
It's like having a personal coach for your career.
That's a good way to put it. It's all about giving you the tools you need.
I love that. Okay, so it helps you land the job, but what about after that? Does it just disappear?
Nope. It's got your back. It's got this career compass thing.
A career compass.
Yeah, it helps you explore different paths, see what skills you might need to move up.
So it's like it's with you for the long haul, helping you figure out your career journey.
Oh, exactly. It's about those long-term goals.
Okay, I'm sold. But let's get back to the present moment. We've talked about the career stuff, but I want to delve into the actual tile setting. you know?
Get our hands dirty. Let's do it.
All right, let's roll up those sleeves, folks. Last time, we talked big picture, but now I'm ready to get into the how-to. What's the real deal with installing tile?
Get ready to be surprised. Even though we see tile everywhere, the work behind it is pretty cool.
Okay, I'm all ears. It can't just be slapping some glue down, right?
Yeah.
What are the key techniques?
It's more than you'd think. First off, ditch that idea of one adhesive for everything.
Okay, so what? Different types for different tiles?
Exactly. Depends on the tile, what you're sticking it to, the whole deal. And it's not just about plopping it down. It's got to be spread evenly, so you don't end up with uneven tiles.
Right, makes sense. So even spreading the adhesive is a skill. What about cutting the tiles? That seems tricky.
Absolutely. And the guide goes deep on this. They talk about all the different tools. You've got your manual cutters for simple stuff, then wet saws for like really precise cuts, even angle grinders for super detailed work.
Wow, serious equipment. Okay, now let's talk grout lines, because those perfect lines, that's pro-level stuff to me. How do they do that?
Spacers,
The little plastic thing?
the very same. They're not just for looks. They're strategically placed.
Don't keep everything even while it dries. Right?
Exactly. Like little tile superheroes working behind the scenes.
Love it. Okay, so the adhesive's dry, spacers are out, time for the grout, right?
Bingo.
Oh.
And don't underestimate grout. It's not just decorative. It seals everything up, protects from water damage, makes it last. It's like the finishing touch that makes it all come together.
The cherry on top.
Okay.
Okay, so those are the basics. Masters of tile do.
Now things get interesting. Remember we talked about mosaics?
Like artwork with tiny tiles, right?
Exactly. Demands crazy precision, a real eye for detail. And then there's restoring old tile work, bringing those historical buildings back to life.
Oh, wow. That's got to be a whole other world. Imagine the stories those tiles could tell.
Right. Like you're a tile historian. And you know what else is big? Large format tiles.
We see those everywhere now. What makes them different to work with?
Well, for one, they're heavy, so handling them is different. And any mistake you make, it's way more obvious.
Oh, I get it. You don't have that margin for error.
Exactly. Level aligned, everything's got to be spot on.
So even more pressure with those?
You could say that. And that highlights something important. This is a field where you're always learning.
That's what I like to hear. Always something new to master. Speaking of which, what about certifications? Can you get, like, officially certified as a tile expert?
You absolutely can. And the guide says, while it's not always required to work, those certifications, they can make a big difference.
Makes sense. It's like a stamp of approval, right?
Yeah.
It shows you're the real deal.
Exactly. So you've got your certified tile installer. That's a big one, but they've got to pass tests, both written and hands-on.
So you can't just talk the talk. You got to walk the walk, tile by tile.
Exactly. And then there's install. That's another one. They've got certifications for all sorts of specialties, large format, glass tile, even outdoor installation.
Outdoor tile, like patios and stuff.
Yep. Swimming pools, walkways, you name it. It's a whole other set of skills.
So cool. So much you can specialize in.
Yeah.
It's like if you can dream it, you can probably tile it.
Pretty much. Now, for those out there with that entrepreneurial spirit we talked about,
Ready to build their tile empires.
the guide's got some great tips. First off, just like laying tile, you need a plan, a business plan, that is.
Got it. What's your target market? What are you offering? All of that.
Exactly. And don't forget the online world. Website, social media, that's huge now.
Right. Got to show off those amazing tile jobs. Let people
Yeah.
see what you can do.
Exactly. Build that credibility. And luckily, there are sites for that. Haas, Angie's List, they're made for this kind of thing.
Oh, like virtual marketplaces for tile pros.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But you can't beat a good word of mouth recommendation, right?
100%. The guide emphasizes that. Happy clients telling their friends, that's gold.
So how do you make that happen? What's the secret sauce for happy tile clients?
It's simple, really. Do great work, be reliable, and go that extra mile to make sure they're thrilled.
It's all about building that trust, making those connections.
Right. And don't underestimate networking. Go to events, join those trade groups, meet other people in the industry.
Love that. It's like building a support system, a community.
Exactly. Because running your own business, it can be tough. It's good to have people who get it.
People who speak your language.
Yeah.
Should I say, speak tile.
Exactly. So starting your own tile business, it's a journey, but for the right person, incredibly rewarding.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here. What are your takeaways from this whole tile installation deep dive?
You know, what gets me is how much there is to it. It's not just about being good with your hands.
Right, there's problem solving, staying updated, even that artistic side we talked about.
Right. It's a craft, but it's also always evolving, and that's exciting.
Totally agree. Well, listeners, that's a wrap on this part of our tile adventure, but don't go anywhere because next time we're going even deeper. We're talking about the future of tile, safety on the job, and some inspiration that'll make you want to retile your entire house. Welcome back, tile fans. We've covered a lot of ground, but now I'm curious about the future. What's next for the world of tile?
Get ready for some serious innovation. We've talked about sustainability, right?
Yeah, and it seems like it's more than just a trend.
Way more. It's becoming a core value, and that's impacting everything.
So what does that actually look like when we're talking about tile?
Well, on one hand, you've got the materials themselves. We're seeing more and more tiles made from recycled stuff like glass, even byproducts from other industries.
So giving those materials a second life, that's cool.
Exactly. And it's not just what they're made of, it's how they're made. The whole manufacturing process is becoming more sustainable, less waste, less energy.
So it's a holistic approach, thinking about the entire life cycle of the tile.
Right. And that's where tile setters come in.
Okay, how so?
They need to be in the know about these eco-friendly options so they can guide their clients, help them make responsible choices.
So it's like being a tile consultant, but with a sustainability focus.
Exactly. Clients want that. It's a selling point.
Makes sense. Okay, so sustainability is huge. What else is on the horizon for tile?
Technology. It's changing everything. Design, installation, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, we talked about RoleCatcher for finding jobs, but how is tech changing the actual work itself?
Well, one of the biggest things is 3D modeling. Imagine, instead of just looking at blueprints, clients can see their space virtually with different tiles, everything.
Whoa, so you can actually experience the space before a single tile is laid.
Exactly. But that means tile setters need new skills too. They got to know how to translate those virtual designs into the real deal.
Bridging that gap between the digital and the physical.
Right. And then you've got laser levels, digital measuring tools, all this tech that makes things more precise, more efficient.
So even a trade as old as tile setting is being shaped by technology.
Absolutely. You got to adapt to thrive.
Speaking of thriving, what about those who want to, specialize in tile? What are their options?
Well, we touched on some already, mosaics, large format, but there's also exterior tile installation. That's a whole other beast.
Right, because now you're dealing with weather or the elements, right?
Exactly. Rain, sun, temperature swings. You got to know what materials and techniques can handle that.
So if you like a challenge and don't mind working outdoors, that could be a good fit.
For sure. And then there's historic tile restoration that's super specialized.
Oh, right, like preserving those old, intricate designs.
Right. It's almost like being a tile archaeologist, figuring out how they did it back in the day.
That's so cool. And of course, there's getting those certifications showing you're at the top of your game.
Exactly. Proves your expertise, helps you stand out.
Okay, shifting gears a bit, what about the look of tile itself? Are there any trends there that tile setters should be aware of?
One big one is biophilic design.
Biophilic design. I've heard that term thrown around. What's it all about?
It's all about bringing nature indoors, using natural elements, creating spaces that feel connected to the outdoors.
Okay, I like where this is going. So how does that translate to tile?
You're seeing a lot of tiles that look like natural materials, wood, stone, even fabric.
So you get that natural look, but with the durability and practicality of tile.
Exactly, and people are using them everywhere. Bathrooms, kitchens, living rooms, even bedrooms.
So it's all about creating that sense of warmth, that connection to nature.
Right, and again, that's where skilled tile setters come in. They're the ones making those designs a reality.
Absolutely. Okay, before we wrap up, we got to talk safety.
So important.
Any job has its risks. But what are some things tile setters need to be particularly careful about?
Well, one of the big ones is dust. Cutting and grinding tiles, it creates this dust, silica dust, and it's no joke.
Okay, so that you got to wear a mask.
Absolutely. Respiratory protection is key. And then, of course, working at heights, always a concern.
Right, especially with those wall installations.
Exactly. Scaffolding, ladders, fall protection, all crucial. And then there's the tools themselves. Those cutters are sharp.
Yeah, definitely don't want to get your fingers crossed up with those.
Right. Gloves, eye protection, using everything safely. And honestly, just keeping the work area clean and organized, that makes a big difference.
Prevents trips and falls, keeps things running smoothly.
Exactly. Safety first, always.
Well said. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of tile setting.
We've covered a lot.
We really have. From the tools and techniques to the career paths, the future trends, even the importance of safety.
Hopefully this is giving you a new appreciation for the craft.
And maybe even inspired you to try your hand at it.
Who knows? Maybe we've got some future tile gurus listening in.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
And for those who aren't quite ready to pick up a trowel just yet, hopefully you'll look at those tiled surfaces a little differently now, with a newfound appreciation for the skill and artistry behind them.
absolutely. It's a beautiful craft.
Well said. All right, that's a wrap for today. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep those creative sparks flying.